Hi, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 118 of the DrewCast. I'm your host, Mellow15. With me tonight, my disembodied voice, we got Jo. Tonight we're gonna get straight into it, guys. We have a bunch of topics we're gonna hit. We're gonna hit the Las Vegas UFO crash. We're gonna hit the disclosure conference, that Dr. Stephen Greer held. And speaking of Stephen Greer, regardless how you guys feel about him, I know I've read some comment sections where like he's not really liked by a good group of people, and that's understandable when you're like dealing with stuff like this, like like the UFO Twitter groups, UFO online groups, anybody in general. I feel like a lot of like even like Tom DeLonge, Lou Elizondo, a lot of them get a lot of backlash and criticism and stuff. So it's understandable. But on June 12th, 2023, which was not too long ago, he actually held a huge conference where a bunch of whistleblowers came forward, gave testimony to crash retrieval programs, stuff that they've seen. All of them had like in my opinion, credible backgrounds. They weren't just like random like Joe blows off the street. They were people who have worked in our military before, people who would have the type of access that these people have had. So I was linking it to all you guys. I linked it to my brother a couple times. I've linked it to people at work. So I'm about, I would say, 45, 50 minutes into it. So I've watched 50 minutes out of the 3 hours because it is 3 hours long. So it is kind of like a good chunk of time. And I've seen a lot of the clips online, like on Twitter mainly. I've seen clips of each of the whistleblowers. My only takeaway is really one of the biggest things about this and the David Grush story that have come out recently is the how quiet everybody's been. Why no news site has covered this, right? David Grush's kind of got covered, right? Like a lot of news stations ended up picking it up and like they kind of did cover it. But this Stephen Greer conference, bro, the disclosure conference, I haven't seen it anywhere. And I think the only reason you probably heard of it or saw it was because of me.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if I could probably say out of everything that has come out, and I'm talking about like people revealing crash retrieval programs, bodies, other interdimensional beings like space beings. We're talking about like some really cool but also scary things. To me, the biggest drawback or the biggest story out of all of this is how quiet everybody's been. How quiet the news has been, how quiet people of work have been, like family members. And I get it. I understand, like, where's the proof, right? I mean, you talked about this earlier. You got to, with extraordinary claims, you got to show the extraordinary proof, right? I get it. I don't think the proof, like, would matter, though. I think you could show people bodies, you could show them craft, and, like, it just still, people won't take this serious, I don't think. And I wonder why. I
I
wonder
don't
why, like, a large majority of our population just does not give a fuck whether or not we have proof or not.
I don't think I don't think that's the case.
You think people would take it more serious if there was proof?
I mean, maybe not as much as you would probably like, but yeah, I would say a large group of people would just, you know, take what they're saying more, I don't want to say seriously, but
Do you think it's
it would
because
become a bigger thing if there was actual proof of what they're talking about.
do you think it's because
This isn't my stance, but like I'm trying to put myself in like the shoes of like a your run of the mill
like
citizen.
average person, yeah.
Yeah. If they get a link or if they see like a clip or get briefed on like what that event even is, they're probably not going to give a fuck because it's just a bunch of dudes telling stories. And then you could say like, oh, but this person is a doctor and this person is a military, like this, and this, which is the credentials topic me and you talked about
Yeah.
last week. But at the end of the day, it's just like a bunch of dudes telling stories without
Without proof.
any hard video or pictures or anything like that.
Well, according to these guys, a lot of the proof that they do have, they've given over to like members of Congress and like, groups that are handling this. So we'll see what, happens from here. It just was a good question, right? Like why hasn't the news been covering it? Why isn't anybody like even touching this story, right? And speaking of stories, I did mention in the beginning we were gonna touch a little bit on the Las Vegas UFO crash, which, by the way, that goes so deep. That pause, by the way, but it goes so deep that, like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to fully break it down and give it justice like I want to. Before we get to the Las Vegas UFO crash story, though, I will link Dr. Greer's disclosure conference below. Guys, even if you don't watch the 3 hours, just watch some of it. It's even if you don't believe it, it's interesting nonetheless, and this is starting to, like, happen now. Like, this is starting to get real. Stuff is starting to, like, happen, and, like, I feel like all of us should be, if you don't want to be a part of it, at least be aware of it. Okay. But yeah, back to the UFO crash in Las Vegas.
That's a good way to put it, actually.
What?
Like, you might not want to be, like, involved and, get deep into the rabbit hole, but at least just be aware of what's happening.
Yeah, because, like, let's say something, like, in my opinion, there's some high level people saying something's going to be happening by 2027, like a huge event, right? Like an impending event. Like, imagine the amount of families who aren't prepared for that. Imagine the amount of people right now who are just so lost in consumption and entertainment and everyday, like, work and, like, life, that when this happens, they're going to be caught off complete guard. And it's just, my goal here is to, like, help you guys, right? Like, even if, like we said, if you don't want to be involved, cool, just become aware of it. Because if your family's safety is important, your safety is important, just educate yourself on what might be coming. So, speaking of that, we did a story last week about David Grush. He comes forward with this, extraordinary testimony about UFOs, crash, retrieval, bodies, a bunch of cool stuff. But around that time, a story started to become really, really huge that I should have covered last week, but I'm glad I did it because more details started coming out. But the Las Vegas UFO crash, that I know you guys have probably heard of it by now, but we're gonna break it down. So on May 1st, well, technically April 30th, but on May 1st is when the 911 call was made. A Las Vegas family calls 911, okay? And the main caller is the son of the family. His name's Angel. Don't know their last name because I looked everywhere, by the way, for their last name. Can't find it, but I know the kid's name is Angel, okay? He claims that at 12, around like midnight, 11 o'clock that night, him and his brother and his dad were in the backyard. They were working on their mechanics. So he's a mechanic. So they were working on a truck. They're working on a car in their backyard. And something crashes out of the sky and lands in their backyard, okay? He when the crash happens, obviously everybody's, like, in disarray, like, oh, what just happened? Angel claims that their vision wasn't blurry, but, like, where the crash had happened, it was blurry. Like, they couldn't really see anything, everything. So they felt like they heard thousands of footsteps near them and whispering. And then they end up seeing two tall creatures. Okay. On the 911 call, he mentions it was between 8 to 10 feet.
I swear to God, this is not a joke. This is actually, we're terrified of it.
So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct. And they're very large. They're like 8 foot, 9 feet, 10 foot. I don't know. They look like aliens to us. Big eyes. They have big eyes. Like I can't explain it. And big mouth. They're shiny eyes and they're not human. They're 100% they're not human.
Okay.
And what makes this story even more interesting is about 35 to 40 minutes beforehand, so on April 30th, which would be before midnight, at around, 11:50 p.m., a cop is handling, like, a different call, and on his body cam, he sees a green glowing ball, like, crash through the sky and, disappear / crash, right?
Well, the 8 News Now investigators obtaining video as officers then responded to the call you just heard. You'll see the officers also saw something in the sky that night, but the big question is, what was it, and is it all connected? It's almost midnight on May 1st when a Las Vegas Metro Police officer's body cam catches this, something flashing low in the sky.
Now, when the cops get to their house, they're like, hey, one of the only reasons we showed up is because my partner said he saw, like, something crash out of the sky. And then you guys gave us this call, so if it is a hoax, let's just get to the point, right? If it is a hoax, what are the odds that happens the same night you do a hoax, right? Like, something crashes out of the sky the same night you do a hoax, which I sent you a link earlier where NASA claims it was it was a meteor, right? But I don't know about that, dude. Like, it just, like, the coincidence of everything happening all at once, I don't know about it.
It is a coincidence. If Sorry, if that is a coincidence, that's insane that they managed to hoax that minutes after this thing came out from the sky.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. Like, what are the odds of that happening at the same time you're doing it? Like, that's probably 1 in a billion, bro.
Then on top of that, there's threads that I saw on Reddit. There was comments I saw on Twitter, etc., where I guess the meteor claim does have some merit because of the color. I guess when meteors descend from our atmosphere, the material that they're commonly tied to, I don't know if it's iron or fucking mercury or something. We'll put it up. But I guess when it burns, it does turn like green,
Okay, so
which I'm not a scientist, so I
yeah,
don't know if
and
that's
by the way,
truth, but
we got to take everything with a grain of salt here because you're right. We're not like educated or trained in this field, so it literally could be that, and we're just like, well, what are the odds though, right? The odds of this, like, it's Then Angel came forward, like I think about a week or two ago. He comes out with his own video, and in his video, he shows you a Ring camera from a neighbor, right? Where the audio show, like in the video, you see the sky light up a little bit, and then an audio of something crashing. Here's a Ring camera video. You could hear the bang. This is around the neighborhood. So here's the video. You've told me that in certain Reddit forums, like they were debunking that, right? My thing
allegedly.
is like, why would he post that if it's fake? Why would he, like, if his story is real and he's trying to convince us it's real, you're just gonna post a fake Ring camera video? I don't understand that.
What I think happened,
Mm-hmm.
if it is fake, or not fake, sorry, if the Ring camera video is fake, I think what happened was somebody probably tagged him in that or showed it to him or something like that.
And
And
he's
was like,
ran with it?
hey, this is the audio from, that night. And he just like, oh shit, I could use this. And then just used it.
One of the things,
Unless he actually went to his neighbor's house or one of the neighbors came to him and was like, hey, this is from my fucking house. I think you should have this. Then what I think happened is he probably just got fed that
and just
and
believed
didn't
it.
like check it to
Damn,
see if
dude.
there
Well,
was
that would lead to being your story not being credible. Which, when Ben had shot that UFO video that I used for a podcast earlier this year, my friend Ben did, in the video, what he was recording was like super cool, right? Like it was like a really good UAP UFO video, but you can hear his daughter in the background saying, "That's nothing. That's nothing in the sky. That's not a UFO." Because she just wanted to go inside. She didn't want to stand outside the rest of the night. And I told him before posting the video, I said, hey, this is a really good video, but like if I post this, people are going to discredit it because your daughter's literally in the background, like discrediting it for us. Like she's literally saying in the video that it's nothing. Dad, what are you doing?
in like
That,
real time.
Yeah, remember? And he was like, oh no, but she didn't, he was trying to like make excuses around it. And I was like, hey, I get it. I get why she said that. I get why she wanted you to hurry up. I understand, but like the public won't give a shit. The public's not going to believe it. The public's going to be like, well, why did your daughter discredit it then, man? So, there's a large number of people who have been like, dissecting every video that's come out of this, every camera angle, every photo angle, from Angel's voice on the 911 call, which I believe that's the only part of this whole thing that I thought was weird, right? Like, if you really saw an 8-foot, 10-foot tall creature in your backyard, bro, the phone call with police would have been very different for me. He was like very calm, and maybe that's just who he is, though, right?
Yeah, I would say that because I've had some instances where this sounds like snitchy as fuck, but I've had some instances where I've had to call the police because like I think something's happening like next door with my neighbors.
Yeah.
Like for instance, one time, our doors are like kind of thin when you're next to them, and like I heard like glass breaking. I heard this dude screaming no. I heard like the doors slam and like that kind of stuff. So like I was like, damn, bro. And this was like a week after another neighbor had got like murdered in her apartment. So I called and I was like, hey, I tried to be like as calm as possible. I was like, hey, I don't want to make like a a thing, but I think my neighbor is like getting into some shit, and I had mentioned over the phone. I was like, hey, one of our other neighbors in the different building got murdered last week. I'm just trying to make sure that same shit doesn't happen again. So
Yeah, they would have dissected your video. Like, why was he so calm?
Someone
bro?
might want to go check on that. And then, someone could say, oh, if you thought somebody was being murdered, why was he so calm? I was being calm because, like, imagine being the dispatcher, right?
And you're hearing
and
that.
you hear somebody panicking on the phone, thinking that someone's getting murdered or something.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I heard screaming. He's like, no. Or, like, glass breaking and, shit like that.
Yeah.
But imagine they hear me panic. They panic thinking something's actually happening. And they show up and it's just them fucking...
Well, okay,
it's just like an argument or something. But yeah, well, the fucking guy on the phone made it seem like somebody was getting killed here.
That's just... So I guess we could just chalk this up to that's just what happens when you release something to the public. Every aspect will be dissected, bro.
Yeah.
And again, the last thing you're thinking of when you're calling 911 is if this call goes public and I'm not talking a certain way, people are going to discredit me. I think that's the last thing Angel's thinking of, right? So a large portion of people, they're just like, hey... if you really saw aliens and you really saw a craft, why weren't you recording? Everybody has a fucking camera now, bro. Why weren't you recording? Why didn't your camera come out? Why isn't there good footage of it? And I'm going to tell you guys, if you truly saw an 8-foot creature or a 10-foot creature or any of that actually really fucking happened to you, and your family's all inside and you have moms and sisters and everybody's scared, I think the last thing you're trying to do is get clout off a situation. Like, if you truly saw an 8-foot creature, you're like, hey, I'm going to go inside and call the cops, bro. Like, I guess I could record. But that's like the last thing you're thinking of, dude. I would hope so. I would hope the last thing you're thinking of is recording and not trying to put your family in danger because people online might be mad at you and they're going to say it's fake. And they seem like a really good family, by the way, from what I've seen so far. They seem like a credible family, and I'm also half Hispanic. And a lot of Hispanic families, bro, they do not fucking play around with that shit. They don't play around with UFOs. They don't play around with ghosts. They don't play around with alien stuff. That's probably why when Angel did a podcast interview later on after this incident, he refers to them as demonic, right? Bro, how many fucking Mexicans and Hispanics do we know that would call this demonic, bro?
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm not saying that's why, but we're Hispanic, bro. We know. We have family members who would be like,
they think like weed's demonic, so
I mean, but so I'm not like discrediting that part of it, right? Like, yeah, you're gonna believe it's demonic because of how our culture is, right? I just think it sucks is like, I don't think he wanted this for his family. Like, if it is fake, this is what you wanted. You wanted like everybody to discredit you. And I saw some actual news sites and like videos saying like, the family has disappeared since then and they're nowhere to be found. Has the government taken them? Are they being interviewed by the government now? And then Angel comes out with the video saying like, oh, my family isn't gone. Like, we're not gone. Look, he like shows his house. Like, we're still here. I don't know why the news is saying that.
They've been taken by the government and they're being hidden away and interrogated.
Today's June 12th. I'm outside my house with my family. You can see people are saying that we disappeared, the news stations. What I learned these couple days, that everything on TV is fake, and especially the news channels. They'll say fake stuff, and it's not true. I already said what I had to say. If you want to believe it. I don't care no more.
Which I can kind of take a personal story into this, right? Like when COVID was a big thing, back in the beginning stages of it, we had an incident at our store where a guy was stealing merchandise and an employee was following him to the front, right? And him and the thief and another customer get into a fight, right? They get the merchandise back, whatever. The video goes viral. But the video goes viral because they say it's an anti-masker, an anti-vaccine guy, right? It's like, oh, anti-masker gets beat up at Walmart. Anti-masker gets beat up at a retail store. Anti-masker this. And it's like, oh no, gay. And I try to tell people online, like, hey, I work here. That's not why he got beat up. It wasn't because he wasn't wearing a mask. And people were like, no, this is an agenda for COVID and you just don't know what you're talking about. Even though I literally said I worked there. I literally said I worked there. I know the people involved. It was not over a mask. And I had reporters from like news stations reaching out to me on Twitter, bro, because I was online saying I worked there. hey, since you work there, can you please message me? I need some details. Like, bro, I'm not going to feed into your fake agenda that you're already trying to push. You're trying to push like this weird anti-masker gets beat up narrative when that's literally not what happened. And then everybody on Twitter and Reddit ran with it, right? So it's hard to control the narrative even when you're somewhat closely involved, because thousands of other people already have their mind made up and are willing to run with fake stories to get clout off you. So yeah, what probably happened was Angel and his family probably didn't want to do interviews like that, so the news just made up stories. They're not even there. They probably got kidnapped by the government.
There was that one video you sent me that she was like, that they were being like trained and told to like keep quiet and like, fuck, we'd have to rewatch it, but like she was saying some like really cringy shit, and I was like, bro, I guarantee you that's not the case.
Going back to the videos from that night though, certain family members, attempted to record what was in the backyard. I don't know what you guys think. I've seen a couple. I've actually seen a variety of videos from that night, and people breaking it down, zooming in on it, lighting up the picture, like giving it a light up touch. I've seen a whole bunch of like I said, different perspectives from that video. There's a couple, like the one video where they're like, hey, you could clearly see something in the forklift. Well, how is it 8 feet tall, 10 feet tall in a forklift, bro? You know what I mean? Like, there's something there, I guess, but is it 8 feet? You know what I mean? And I told Justin this earlier, like if you're a creature or an interdimensional being who's like crashed here, and you're just trying to like get out without being caught, you're probably gonna like project yourself to be bigger to like scare off the people that are like watching you. And that's probably what happened, bro. Right? Because then, like, there's another video where, like, as they're walking up towards the fence, you could see something on the other side of the fence at the bottom, like, kind of scaling the fence with its hands. And, like, it looks like it's, like, moving up or standing up, right? There's other, like, video where, like, you can clearly see something in the background that looks like it has a big head. And I had a friend say it looked like Rogers from American Dad. Roger, not Rogers, sorry. But it looked like Roger from American Dad. And like when I did a light up touch on the picture and you can kind of like circle it out, it kind of does look like that, bro.
No, it does, dude.
Yeah, it does.
And there's a video that we'll post here as well. Like you can see it turn its head and like blink. So if they faked it, I mean,
if they did, like, that's crazy. But I mean, what's the odds that on the same night if the Ring camera footage is real, Justin, I don't think it's a hoax. How do you fake that? How do you fake the body cam catching it crash? How do you fake all of that on the same night you plan this?
Well, the Ring camera footage isn't fake because then like edited and whatever you want to call it. They're just saying it's fake because it's not from that same night. The sound you hear and the flash you see.
Did you read that at all? Like, how did they know that?
Yeah, I don't know. I sent you the thread.
Yeah, no, I didn't. The Reddit thread, yeah, I didn't read that one. But
I guess it was a firework. That's why you see the flash of light. That's why you hear that little twizzling sound. It's just a firework.
What?
That like shoots up and then pops, and that pop you hear is supposedly the crash. But
me and Justin have a friend who he thought it was fake because the screenshot looked like Roger from American Dad, right? And I also have another friend named Warren. I've mentioned it before. He helped me start Say What's Real, so shout out to you, Warren. But he even says, me and him argue about this all the time. Like, he'll be like, oh, you believe in lizard people though, bro, LOL. And I'm like, yeah, well, if the universe is as big as they say it is, then, like, there is probably a race of beings out there that look like lizards, bro. They probably look like reptiles. Like, why is that so hard for you to grasp? And when our friend said that, right, he was like, oh, yeah, I don't think it's real because it looks like Roger from American Dad. There's another story from the Stephen Greer conference where he was like showing illustrations of like them taking a body from a craft, and it was like 39 inches. And Warren's like, yeah, I'm done, bro. LOL, I'm done. It's 39 inches. Yeah, I'm good. And I'm like, bro, so you're saying the universe could be as big as they say it is, which they theorize it has no end. And you're saying that there isn't a race or there isn't creatures out there that are 39 inches tall? There's not
There's
creatures.
Adults here now shorter than that.
Well, he's like, hey, bro, if there's lizard people, then there's hippo people. Like, yeah. Isn't that the point of the universe being as big as it is? that at some point there probably is a creature of everything that's smart, bro. Like,
I don't know. I wouldn't go that far because I feel like a hippo is kind of like 100% like an Earth thing, whereas like a lizard is kind of a generalization of like what that thing could look like.
but it might not even be a lizard. It just looks like a lizard.
Yeah, it just looks
Yeah.
reptilian. Like a hippo is straight up a hippo.
Yeah,
I'm
I know,
almost
but like,
100%
hey,
sure it's an
I agree with you both, right? Like, it's probably not, but because the universe is simply so big, you can't really justify saying no. I mean, I guess you could say no. I guess a lot of physicists and like scientists would say we need proof, but like, what is a hippo person just gonna land and be like, yo, bro, you know, like, so, right? No, we're not gonna get that, but yeah, it kind of boggles my mind because after seeing the video, after seeing Angel do a couple interviews afterwards, which he didn't do an interview with like a bigger known platform, which George Knapp was trying to interview this kid and his family, which he should have done that interview. George Knapp is like a very, very, in my opinion, I don't care what people say, George Knapp is a credible person in the UFO world. He's the one that broke the Bob Lazar story. He's the one that you see all the time with Jeremy Corbell on Weaponized podcast. Like those guys do amazing work, bro. Right? Like I said this in the beginning, anybody who does anything in this field, there's going to be a large group of people who shit on you no matter what, bro. You could literally be the guy who brings actual disclosure to us, and there's going to be people who like shit on you, dude. There's no escaping it. Like this isn't like a nice field. Right, like I'm assuming like if you're in like the crochet market, there's probably like a lot of good people who are like very supportive, right? But like the UFO, paranormal, like this scary type of stuff, there's a lot of weirdos, bro. There is, and it is what it is. You gotta take it for what it is. Those guys know it too. Stephen Greer knows it, but Tom DeLonge knows it. They all know. There's a lot of good people, but there's a lot of fucking weirdos, dude. And I feel bad for this family because even if they did fake it, I don't think they did. And it's simply the couple reasons why. They come from like I said, I'm Hispanic too. So usually Hispanic families, especially like the moms and dads, don't play around with this type of stuff. Even if you're telling them it's a joke, hey mom, play along with the joke. Nah, they're like, no, I'm going, like, you know what I mean? Like they're like, nope, right? You got the body cam happening. If the Ring camera footage is real, you got the simple fact that you called 911 knowing that if they found out that you faked that, you could probably get in big trouble for that, right? You got the cops who, when they showed up to the house, the cop, like, as they're going towards the backyard, like, his body cam, like, blocks out with, like, a black square. And he says this because they can't record on private property, which a lot of people have came forward, and I even looked into this. In Nevada, a cop isn't allowed to record on private property unless the occupants or the owners give you okay, right? Which clearly in that video they were giving the cops okay, like, oh yeah, come to the backyard, let's go look. So I don't know why the cop said that. Maybe the cop was scared. Maybe the cop didn't know the law fully, so he was just like, okay, let's just block it out just in case, just in case that this is a thing. It just, everything adding up to this was very strange to me because now it came out, it got really big when the whole David Grush story got, publicized. And there's a lot of mean people, dude. There's a lot of mean people, dude. Regarding the Las Vegas UFO crash, regarding like the whole Stephen Greer disclosure event, regarding the David Grush, whistleblower testimony, I feel like a lot of stuff's getting real, but like kind of too fast. And a lot of this is hard to digest for a lot of people, especially for someone like me who's like really into this. Like I'm like every day I'm looking up stories and trying to like do research, and I'm actually like in the field, not as much as other people, and I'm probably not as educated as other people, but a lot of this is coming at you guys really fast, and especially for people who aren't doing what we do or what other people do, right? So I would just say, take everything with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Don't listen to like the thousands and hundreds of people on social media who are like being rude and disgusting and like just not being attentive to this family's feelings, because I believe this family saw something. Something crashed in their backyard. I believe they saw something. I believe it affected them. I believe they had a reason to call 911. I do not believe they had a reason to lie about any of this. What it was, who knows? It could be alien. It could be something from another dimension. It could literally be something from here, because we covered another whistleblower talking about how these things come from the Atlantic Ocean. It could actually be a whole group of things we don't know. So I wouldn't jump and say it's a hoax. I wouldn't jump and say it's real. I would kind of gauge your feelings after you see the clips, after you see the video, after you see Angel talking on those podcasts. You know, people like George Knapp and stuff who like have dedicated their life to this type of stuff. He doesn't think the family's lying. And I think he has a good grasp on people who bullshit, right? This guy probably gets a lot of people who bullshit him, dude, when it comes to UFOs and aliens. So he probably has like a good grip on like what's real and what's not. And even he's not perfect, right? So he could be wrong on this too. I just don't think there was a reason for this family to lie. And, you know, before we end the episode, going back to the whole Stephen Greer disclosure event, it is kind of alarming that a lot of people that we work with, a lot of our family, the news, the media, social media, anybody that's just anything, it doesn't feel like people are taking this topic serious enough. And I think it's the decades and decades of demonizing it, making fun of people. You were a hippie, you were cuckoo bananas if you talked about this type of stuff. If you brought it up to your friends, you were the conspiracy theorist guy. But I'm here to tell you this isn't a conspiracy theory anymore. It's a cover-up. That's what it is. It's a cover-up that they've made the public believe is a conspiracy theory, so that they can spend more years on secret projects where they're stealing free energy, they're stealing technology that could actually like help our world. They're like, that's what they've done. They made it to where you chastise and demonize your neighbors and family while they get to play around with the good stuff. Because that's just how it works. And they probably spent a lot of taxpayer money on like funding for this stuff behind our backs. And if there's a Cold War happening between a bunch of countries who have this technology, it's against everybody's security, not just national security. It's against the world's security. If Russia, China, and America all have this stuff and they don't know how to use it and they don't know how to reverse engineer it, then what is happening? We're just allowing that? And I am going to say we are just allowing that because there's more of us than them. And the simple fact that you got told that and it didn't change your day-to-day life, or it didn't make you stop and say, what? What do you mean that they've been hiding this for this long? We thought that was just a conspiracy theory. We thought it was just a myth. Right? What do you mean that countries are having a Cold War with this technology and like, you know, any wrong move could like really damage and destroy things? What do you mean? Everybody just kept twerking and everybody just kept going to shop at retail stores and not really caring. And going back to like Trump and Biden and Hunter Biden and liberal and AOC, like it's just like they don't care, dude. The programming that these people have given you guys to where everything's just a joke and you can laugh it off, it worked. Because for the majority of people, they don't care about this stuff. They don't care about David Grush's testimony. They don't care about the disclosure conference. It went in one ear and out the other. And for some, like the disclosure conference, it didn't even hit your inner matrix. You didn't even hear about it probably until you either watched this or somebody that you knew who you called a conspiracy theory friend told you. And that might be the most troubling thing that has came out of all this news to me. So, but yeah, that is episode 118, guys. I had a blast today. Like I said, I don't think I could do that Las Vegas UFO crash like a full justice, because there's just so much that was attached to this that I really just had to break down the good stuff, right? Because there's a lot of rumors and there's a lot of speculation, a lot of lies from like the media down there that I didn't even want to touch on, because I'm like, you know, bro, I could probably spend an hour trying to debunk all this stuff. Let's just get to the meat and bones of the story. Let's tell the viewers about it and let's see what they say, because I think they saw something and I think something definitely crashed in their backyard. So, but yeah, until next time, guys, peace.